I'm glad you smiled at that.
Could see it. I could see it.
Good to see it, yeah. So happy lunchtime to everybody. Tuesday the 27th, first Hustl Live.
That is it.
So today, last night we had a great. We were supposed to do 30 minutes last night as an intro, and it turned into 45 minutes as usual.
Yeah.
We had a good laugh. You with the sound effects. Have we got sound effects today?
No, I haven't got that mic in.
Shut up.
I haven't. I've got. I'm trying this camera out today.
Yeah, you knew one, new Canon.
Yeah.
Big boy.
Yeah, the picture quality's better.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to understand if my voice is synced. But yeah. Anyway, this is so like Ian said, this is our first Hustl Live. If you aren't part of our Hustl group, everything is down in the link in the description, or if you're on Facebook above, you can join our group. It's free to join, like it says in the bottom left hand corner. That's our Hustl group, and then we've also got our Patreon link on there that you can come and join us for more insights, more education, and a mentorship program that myself and Ian are doing. We've got our first Patreon today. I'll let Ian introduce her.
Yeah, so our first Patreon sign up for the over-the-shoulder learning is Laura Neal. Laura Neal's a very good friend of mine. I've known Laura for maybe about 2 years now, and the growth she's had in those 2 years has been fantastic. Obviously, she must trust me because she's invested in her own education and taken it very seriously that we can help her. So she's taken a lot of time to get to know us anyway. Previously, she's been part of Hustl since day one. And she's taken the big leap of faith, and she believes that we can help her get it to the next level. And so it's not just a moment's decision she's made off the cuff. She's obviously been thinking for a while, and when the opportunity arose, she's taken it. And our promise to her is that we were going to take her to the next level and help her to achieve her goals. They'll be her goals, not ours, and we're going to help her in every way we can to succeed. And I know with her attitude and all the skill set she already has, she's halfway there, and we can just help accelerate that process.
Cool. Let's just bring in some of the guys. So because this is in our private group, Hustl, you're only coming up as Facebook user in the name. So when you're commenting, just put your name next to it. I don't know why it's doing that, but we're learning. Yeah. But Lisa's in. So hi, Lisa. Tony's in. Hi, Tony. We have Facebook user. Yes, come on. So whoever is here, just let us know because we want to know who you are. I'll try and figure out how we can get names up because it's a private group. I think that's why.
Yeah.
But somebody else is waving, and then voice is fine. Love the new colour. Cool. Thanks.
Awesome. So we know it's really good. So today, last time when we had a chat, we were talking about haircuts. But that was me. That's not me. So today last time we were talking about haircuts, and everybody seems to want to have short haircuts, which I love because I love short haircuts. Simple as that. But there's a reason why at the moment people are more nervous about short haircutting, and that's because the trend for the last 3-5 years has been long hair to accommodate the balayage ombre effects that everybody's going for. But short hair is definitely becoming more, in my salon anyway, we're seeing a lot more of it, a lot more requests for it. And it's still a fundamental technique. And I'm going to use a fundamental technique, but then I'm going to make it more wearable and fun to do. And I but keep it simple. And I talk about section patterns. I'm going to talk about structure and pattern and how you can keep the same pattern, but change the result by using a different reference point on the head or using a guideline or a static guideline or a traveling guideline, and why those things have a big effect on the layering pattern or whatever we do to remove weight or to create weight, whatever you want or whatever your desire is. But you have to know that before you start the haircut, what you want to get. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Perfect.
So I'm going to bring my model in. She's all
Cool.
prepped. So
She's
here it is.
single here as well. There she is.
Here she is, beautiful. Look, this is really simple. It's a bob, right? So this is where I kind of, a lot of clients come in with a bob. They kind of want to change over what to, for something shorter. This is how I would do it. So I've just created like a U section here, right around, to go just below the crown, at the back, through to the other side, here. And then on the top, I've split in two. Oops, move that across, you can see it. And this goes across the top of the head, behind the ear, both sides. So it ends up just behind the ear. Whoops, on each side. So I'm just in here, I'm working backwards. And so I'm just behind the ear, and that's where my demarcation point is. I'm keeping this a little bit below the crown because it's going to affect the length later on the top, and I'll explain that when I get to it. But I'm going to start it, and I'm going to start with a graduation. Graduation is anything that is from 0 degrees to 45 degrees, to 90 degrees. Anything but 90 is a layer, and I'll explain that as I go along as well. Often when we talk about the degrees, then people get confused, and I don't like that. I was always confused myself. So when I sussed it out and I knew what I was talking about, I always vowed never to use 45 degrees or whatever, because I know the confusion it can cause for most people. So now I have two forms of graduation, which is high graduation or low graduation. And I would say anything from 0 to 45, so it's a low held graduation, pulled down, that's going to be more like low. Anything I pull up and out and slightly higher is going to be more of my high graduation. If I go above that, so more above 90, the hair's coming directly up from the head, then I start a layer. So I always got to make sure that I'm not putting directly out, but out and down, no matter whether I'm low or high. Does that make sense?
Perfect, mate.
Some questions. If you've got questions, bring them in. So I'm going to start at the side, and I'm going to start right in this front section, right here. So this is kind of I'll push this around so you can see it. I'm trying to get my line there. So I'm going to take a backward diagonal. So, okay, I always get asked this question, but I'm taking a backward diagonal, okay, here. What would happen if I took a vertical section as opposed to a backward diagonal? So, yeah, clock's a good one, Lisa. I agree with that. That's a really good tip. I still think a lot of people get confused, so just keep it high or low. It's like super simple. So this, why I do a backward diagonal is that think of it as color, think of it as highlighting, or if you were doing foiling. If I did a vertical foil straight down, and I put my foil in there, took a slice, left it develop, and I took the foil out, then when I combed the hair down, I'd have one piece of color, just have one color straight down. Okay, so it's kind of, you don't see much of it. It's light. It's just one light color. You're not getting a spread of color. If I took it slightly diagonal and then added my color, and then I developed, and then I combed it down, I would see more color. Okay, so I get more weight in my color. If I took a horizontal line this way and did the same foil, same amount of weaves, or the same slice, took it out, I'd have heavy color. And you have to think that the same way when you're cutting hair as well, is that the more vertical, the lighter, the less weight you're going to see. The more diagonal, the more weight you're going to see. So working with a backward diagonal like this is going to create weight and build around the shape which I want to get for this kind of pixie shape, this modern pixie, if you like. It's going to be really textured. I'm going to use a bit of a razor later on. This one, if you've got one of these, they're fantastic. If you haven't got one, I tell you to get one. I'll probably use my razor shears as well. These, so again, You know, I've got two for everything. I use all the tools in the box. I don't say, oh, you can't use them. I use them, but I use them specifically for certain things. So there's different things I've used, and I'm going to get ahead of that. So I'm going to just put a diagonal in here for you, forward diagonal, really fine, so you can see where I'm coming. Yeah, Paul's got his code. I like that, Paul.
Yeah, so Mataki.com, they've got obviously scissors, but razors as well. Feather razor that Ian's using, and I can't remember how they're not massively expensive, but if you use Watts 5, you get money off. So I thought I would share that with you guys. So this is like with benefits as well. With joining us, we'll share as many of the discount codes and promotions and stuff that we get given to you guys.
So one of the things that I make sure I do when I'm training my own team is when they're holding hair like this, I make sure when they cut that they only cut to this knuckle, the middle part of my finger. Then they recomb and take it again. I do that because it keeps the tension on, and the tension is what's really important. So I've lost Paul for a minute. I don't know where he's gone. So I'll just keep going while I've lost his picture.
Mate, keep going. I'm here.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep methodically going through, and the section shouldn't be any thicker than what I can see through. If I can see my section through it, look at that. I don't see clearly my section underneath. So unless I'm doing that, then if I can't see it clearly, I'm too thick. Pulling out, and then cut up to my first knuckle, stop, recomb, get my tension back, and I'm going to create my line. So with this, I'm basically pulling the section directly out towards myself. So the section to you is coming straight out this way. It's going to come straight out this way, okay? I'm not pulling forward, I'm not pulling backwards. While I'm doing that, it's the diagonal that's keeping me to build up the weight, okay? If I did it more vertical, then the shape's going to be lighter, but I want it to be a heavier shape, so I'm creating a diagonal. So as I work my way through, I want to create even more weight at the back. So that's when I'm working with a traveling guide at the moment. So it means that the guide, I work on each previous section. So my first section is my guide. Number 2 section goes to number 1. Number 3 section will go to number 2. And number 4 section will go to number 3. So I always work with the previous guide, but moving backwards until I get to the round point just behind the ear, when this will become a static guideline for about 4 sections before I then make this a new line, and then I continue to travel. And the reason I do that is to build up some weight behind the ear. Otherwise, if I do it flat, it's going to end up being rounder shape. It's going to be more of a flatter shape. And I want to build up weight to create a dimension, like a 3-dimensional shape. So I hope if you have any questions to that, let me know. I'll answer them wherever I can.
Everyone's just replying to your work, mate. So Anthony said remove more weights when you were talking about the sectioning. Yeah. And then we had Tony when you were discussing that then about having more weights, but more or less weight she meant to put. And then Lisa was talking about your sections as a comb's thickness.
Yeah, as long as it's not a comb thickness that way, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So once I've done about 3 or 4 sections, I'll show you. I'll get my 4th section in. 4 is now going to 3. So I'm ignoring the first 2 sections. I'm just working on my previous, which is the 3rd section. So I still see my guide in there. Work up to my knuckle. Recomb. Right, okay, so now I've got 4 sections to work with. I'm going to damp it a little bit. With a raw water spray, don't go right up here and spray it all down. Take it from back and have a gentle mist. That's all you want, is a gentle mist. If failing that, spray into your comb and just use it in your comb. So once I've done that, I'm now going to cross-check. So what I'll do is I'm going to cross-check and pull this out, and I'm going to see how square that line is. And I'll see if I'm offline or whether I'm on target to what I want. That's really good. But I do this haircut a lot, so you can see I'm used to building up this uniform shape of graduation. So I'm quite comfortable with it. If I was pulling too far forward, I would end up with the line. Oops, turn it over. If I was, you can see that. If I was to, the line would go longer. And that's when I know I'm pulling too far forward. I'm pulling this section too far forward, so I want to stay on the section. I'll only pull forward when I get behind the ear and work up until this point. So
Cool.
that's what I'm looking for.
We've just had a message from someone on Facebook from the group. I love watching Ian cutting hair. Will this be saved in Hustled to watch later? School run is calling. Yes, this is going to be in the Hustled group, but also we're going to be saving it unlisted on YouTube, so we can always revisit it. And when you are, we're going to create a library on the Patreon. So on the actual Patreon site, we'll have a list of all of our videos, so you can literally just click on them and watch them whenever. And then Tony Candy, why are some people better at cutting than styling and vice versa? Great question, Tony.
That's a brilliant question. Again, it's down to understanding, I think, and what you're comfortable at. And
Yeah.
I think what naturally people do, I don't know whether you find this, Paul, but I actually think people avoid what they're bad at. And because they avoid it, they never really practice it.
Yeah.
And so you're only going to get good at something the more you do it. Somebody once said to me that I always used to say, practice makes perfect. And then somebody said to me, it doesn't make perfect. Actually, practice makes permanent.
Yeah.
So it depends what you're practicing. You have to practice the right things to actually, make things right. So, like I said, this is repetitive. I could probably do this haircut if I want to in like 20 minutes and be done. But I'm always thinking about the section, and I think a lot of hairdressers do is they get to a position where they are so used to it they stop thinking. And again, in the session today, talking about traveling guidelines, that's why I want to talk about that today. And I realized a lot of people, including my own team, didn't know the consequences between like using the exact same section pattern and using the traveling guide to a static guide on the same haircut with the same pattern.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's kind of a mind boggler for me.
Let's throw that to the audience. What would you guys think? What would happen if we're using a moving guide or if we're using a static guide? Put it in the comments and we'll bring it up on screen. We'd just like to know what you think. But yeah, it's a great question. And with Ian, I mean, with cutting and styling, basically comes down to me with styling, not more hair up. It's something I avoid because I'm not really passionate about it, to be honest. I love cutting and colouring, and they're the two parts of our craft that I really invest a lot of my time in perfecting. I love blow drying. I love perfecting that smooth, like we were talking about last night, that glass hair.
Yes.
I love the glass hair. I love creating that smooth finish, that really glossy, healthy hair finish. But when it comes to hair up and wedding hair and prom hair, it's just something that I'm just not digging. And that's me. That's personal preference. I've got people in my team that absolutely love it, and they will do a much better job than what I would if somebody come in wanting a hair up, because I'm just not into it.
Yeah, get that. I think because back in the day, you got to remember, I was like educated in the 80s. Really, we had to do everything. Like you had to. This all salons did hair up, setting, perming, setting, and so like now I rarely put hair up. But when I do, my team are always like, "How do you just do that with like 3 pins?"
Yeah.
I'm like, because my prep is good.
Yeah.
I prepped it so it's meant to, and I could fold it in, get the shape, put my pin in, done. I hate putting loads of clips. Why are you putting so many clips? You shouldn't be able to see the clips.
Yeah.
You shouldn't see bobby pins. You shouldn't see pins. They should be invisible. They should be incidental. So moving guide, same length all the way through. It's the same layer shape. I think you mean. So yeah, you are right. A moving guide will do that. But you can mix in the same haircut. You can mix a static guideline with a moving guideline for different reasons, to build up the weight and to build up a section. I'm just leaving this for a second. I don't know if you can see this down the bottom, but this is where everybody gets a bit confused. Because I'm graduating, because this is a difficult place to cut, a lot of people will put their fingers in here and they pull up to accommodate themselves. If I do that and I look underneath the section here, that hair is not coming out straight from the head anymore. It's actually coming upwards. So that's no longer graduation. Even though I'm down in the nape area, that's now a layer. It's a short layer, but it's a layer. So I must make sure that I'm pulling this down, away and down from the head. That's the direction I want to go. If I'm accommodating and pulling it up, then it creates a layer. And it's a softer feel. And it doesn't work as graduation, where you're building up weight from short to long. So I have to make sure that when I get in, that I don't pull up, that I keep it down quite low, and I cut accordingly. Okay? So you can see the outline. Got a silhouette, coming. That's quite a nice silhouette I've got. It's quite clean all the way through, with no obvious pieces. So look, he says, as he finds one, look right at the top here. There's a tiny little bit here where I've just over-directed a little bit too much. Cross-check. It's not big enough to go back through. It's big enough to keep me as a reminder. Be careful not to over-direct too much. But this is where I am over-directing, to just behind the ear. I'm just over-directing these pieces because I want to keep more weight behind the ear. So now I'm pulling forward. So let's say this is section 1A behind the ear, and now this is going to be section 1B, to the same spot. Just come in here, pull down. Same thing. Being mindful about not lifting my section too high.
Nice. I'm just going to jump in because I've just jumped on the Hustl.Ed group, and Carmel is the person who said, I'm going to be joining Patreon when I get home, currently sitting by a lake watching. I mean, that's amazing.
I'm jealous.
The weather near me isn't really that good at all today.
Mine's good. It's here in Cardiff.
Is it?
Yeah, it's nice. It's got to be cloudy, but it's still blue skies, warm.
Yeah. Louise Knox has said, "Hey everyone," and Louise is actually the one that says, "I love watching Ian cutting hair. Will this be saved on the Hustle to watch after the school run?" It will. And then Melissa O'Sullivan has said, "I avoided that too, Paul," which is the hair up and styling and that. And so was Tony. Tony's jumped in as well and said, "Same here. I'd rather cut and colour." It's funny. I mean, it's our own creative freedom to do what we want. I mean, you look at the Tony and Guy sort of model, where you're a cutter or a colourist. But
a great analogy on that.
Yeah. Far away.
So because that back in the 80s, 90s, Tony and Guy, they were like rivals to Sassoons. In the 80s, we only had Sassoon really. And you had a few other people's coming off it. And then in about 82, 83, because I started 79, then 82, 83, you had this explosion of Tony and Guy then, Anthony Mascolo doing the first one, because it was like all video then, so it was all new education rather than download stuff.
Yeah.
So we got our hands on that in the salon, and we were like blown away by how this guy was doing it, and they were so far ahead of their time, even further than Sassoons were at the time. And what I would say is that they became like the rock stars of hairdressing. Yeah. Then, like Anthony, luckily I got to know Anthony about 15 years ago, and I actually did the London to Paris bike ride for Great Ormond Street, and he was on it.
Yeah.
I sat with him quite a lot, and we became quite decent friends. And then I saw him at Sand International a couple of times, and he's the type of guy I thought, he's never going to remember who I am, and he always did, and he always said, he's the Welsh cyclist, how are you doing? Come and sit with us. So I got to know all the guys in the team. that they were there when they were working, and he always like, come backstage, come and say. So I was really lucky, but he was such a nice guy. But anyway, they were rock stars, I think, then.
Yeah, I've got a story about that as well. I was on a Clubhouse, which is also bringing us to Clubhouse. Let us know in the comments, guys, if you want a Clubhouse invitation. I don't know, just say in the comments, just say I do, or invite me, and we'll work it out how we're going to. But what I was going to say was, I was on a Clubhouse, and Nick Irwin was on there, and Gary France.
Yeah, Nick Irwin's cool, yeah.
Yeah, and they were talking about this. They were walking through like an airport, and literally everyone sort of like stopped and stared because they were just like rock stars.
They were. That's exactly what they were. And and I remember then in like early 2000s talking about the differences about Sassoons and Tony and Guy, for instance, and also what I was doing, because I started my business in 1998, and it was the philosophy behind my brand as well, which coincided. So that's what I was talking about, the philosophy brand, when I was creating the brand philosophy. So what I was going to say was that Sassoons, you got to think in musical terms, Sassoons are the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Do you know what I mean? So they are like, your classics, classic music, classic, everything is like orchestrated and perfect and that. Yeah. Tony and Guy were the rock stars, the punks, the kind of like, they come along and kind of they're loud and brash, and it's music, but it's not classical music, but it's great music, And I think that what Sassoons had to do, because I think sadly, I don't know if you saw the thing this week, but Sassoons look like they are going to go into liquidation.
Are they?
Yeah, have we not heard?
No.
Yeah, Sassoons look in danger of going to liquidation.
Yeah, well, Regis bought them, didn't they? And Regis.
They're making no money whatsoever, and they look like they're going to go into liquidation, and they're looking for somebody to come in with a rescue package as we speak.
That is unbelievable.
Really sad, right?
Yeah.
Like, they've given so much to the industry, but the problem is that they are. Do you know, like, again, going back 20 years ago, you could buy an album of the Royal Philharmonic playing all the latest hits. Yeah. So it's like the Royal Philharmonic does punk, and the Royal Philharmonic does new wave or something.
Yeah.
So you recognise the tunes, but it's all done with orchestra and strings and all that, So I think Sassoons are trapped in that model where they are classic musicians who are trying to do pop. So I actually think they've almost handcuffed themselves.
Yeah.
They can't then express. And that's why so many people left, Tim Hartley left, Gianni's left. You've got Bruce Maysfield. They've all gone on to do their own thing because they can find more expression. And even if look at what Tim Hartley's doing now, I mean, he's a different artist to what he was at Sassoons, but it's still in him. It's so ingrained in him. He can't break those shackles.
Yeah.
And he is the most phenomenal hairdresser, like unbelievable artist, unbelievable educator, but they have a way of doing it. And I think that they find it very difficult to go outside those ways. They're so pure. And I think that now, that part of the brand, there's so many other artists who are equally as talented, who have equal amount of technique and skill, but aren't shackled by the Sassoons legacy, that they can explore further. And I think clients are gravitating to that.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, you talk to people and they'll go Sassoons because they want precision.
Yeah.
They won't necessarily go Sassoons because they want a really soft layered bouncy blow dry.
No, they don't do it.
No. So yeah, I mean, I can see how they've sort of cornered themselves in the industry, and they can't go back on their sort of their mission statement as such, because that's Sassoons.
Yeah. Yeah, they are architectural hairdressers.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Oh, phenomenal.
But
Like,
also education. You speak to a lot of people when they've been to sassoons, and it's a very different experience to what we sort of do.
yeah, I think like I was lucky. I did bardering at sassoons when I was young for 9 months, and I learned like it gave me the grounding. But then I was never in the groove where I was only sassoons. I got to work with other people as well. I worked with Robert Lebetta when I worked for Sebastian. I was a Sebastian design artist for probably nearly 10 years, I think. And I was traveling to LA twice a year for all the Sebastian updates. And, didn't work directly. Robert was always the vision director of the company, and he passed it down to his artists to teach all people like me who were international guest artists. When we did collections, we did 2 collections every year, always coincided with product launches, always brought us, new stuff. And I think me and you were talking about creating a collection for autumn winter this year.
Yeah.
And our interpretation of the new color trend and the new color palettes, and bringing forward our suggestions for how we read it going forward. So Sebastian did that. I worked but then as part of the team, I was selected to do a photo shoot representing the brand when they launched the newest, biggest concept. I think it was in about 1997, and it was called Fiber Fashion Fabric, Fiber Fashion Fabric. So it's about the hair fiber being used as a fabric to create fashion.
Yeah.
And I still love that. I still refer to that all the time when I'm doing shoots. It's about making the hair, like we know through Joico, right, that hair is made up of 19 amino acids, right? And so it's very close to wool. And wool is made up of 18 amino acids. And the missing amino acid is cysteine, which makes wool. So hair has one more amino acid called cysteine, which makes it harder, makes it more durable than wool. But in all intents and purposes, and if you think of wool, how you can create textures in wool, smooth, like Aran sweater type stuff, then you can diffuse wool, pull it out, make it erratic. Then you can get these cashmere soft shit. So you can do the same thing with hair, right? So you have to try and use hair as a fabric to create new fashion, and that's like so. Anyway, I did the shoot with Robert. Robert art directed it. There was 4 other stylists on it, and we all had a model each, and we did some storyboards beforehand. So I knew I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I was going to do one of the 4 looks. There was 4 looks. I was doing one of them, but I had to know them all. And on the day, we basically drew lots. In my opinion, I drew the short lot. I drew the worst one, which is this big, erratic, horrible, ugly hair, right? And I love beautiful, shiny, glossy, beautiful hair, right? So sorry, I'm just showing you. I've done that right through. My silhouette's really good. I've cross-checked already. You see there, it's pretty spot on, okay? There's no bits obviously hanging out. The length's good.
Beautiful.
So nice and smooth, okay? So that's kind of, I'm in the rhythm now when I'm chatting and stuff like that. So I'm going to come in the front and do the same thing here.
We've got 26 minutes, mate, just to let you know.
I'll crack through this and keep on with the story. So I'm doing exactly the same. I'm repeating the same thing next to the side, okay? So I did the haircut. I did the hair finish. It was a finish, actually, on a long head model using the technique I was told. And when the model was on set, I was really, really disappointed. I was really upset that she looked so horrible. And I thought, all these people on this shoot are doing such beautiful work, and mine's the ugliest. And Robert could sense that I was not happy. Like, he's a clever man, and he could sense I wasn't happy. So he asked me what my problem was, And I was explaining to him how I do lovely, beautiful, shiny, glossy hair, and I didn't like the result, and I thought it was ugly. And he taught me a really valuable lesson. He took the time to spend, to educate me that afternoon. And what he said was that the reason he gave me that model was because he recognized the work that I did previously was lovely, shiny, beautiful work. Yeah. And he said that meant that I was in this kind of zone where I was only doing shiny, beautiful, glossy work. And he said, and so you're not growing. I want to give you something that's going to challenge you and challenge your senses to make you grow. And he said, like all art, if you see something you don't like, you should revisit it and see what it is you don't like about it, and then understand why. He said, explore it. He said, because that's where you will learn and that's where you will grow. You don't grow by always doing the same things which you love. So challenge yourself. So he said to me at the end of the shoot, I know you're disappointed, but I can tell you that image that you've created is going to be a front cover. And I was like, no way, it's so ugly, it's impossible. And 3 months later, that one image had 3 front covers. So I was like blown away.
Amazing.
By his knowledge, by his trust. And also, so now when I see something that I don't like, I'm like, I don't like that, and I have that reaction to it, I instantly stop and think, oh, well, wait a minute. There's something there that's challenging me and challenging my perception. So I need to change my perception to understand it. And I can always gain something, even for something, and I may end up still not liking it, but I'll understand what the artist meant or what the stylist meant, what they were trying to do by it, and I can learn from that. So I'm always open to that, and that conversation with Robert always comes back to me when I do that,
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of stuff if you're kind of challenged by, then as it looks, I mean, not technically to do, but as it looks, if it's challenging you, reinvestigate it, because very often that's where your learn is. That's where your biggest learns are, in the stuff, because otherwise you just stay in your lane basically. And we don't want you staying in your lane. We want you exploring outside your lane and growing. And that's what Hustl.Ed, I believe we're about, is to taking people outside their lane and getting them to see other points of view and getting them to understand there's more than one way. And we've both had very different routes in our careers, Paul.
Yeah.
We both had very different experiences, but at the same time, they can be. You can draw a line between them, so you can see where the similarities are as well. But 2 different experiences, and like I was nowhere near where you are when at your age. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, I didn't know how to do it. I wanted to be where you are now, but I didn't know how, and there was no one that could show me.
Yeah, and this is the birth, isn't it? I mean, social media has created this culture of accessibility, I suppose is the way we can put it. Yeah. And I've been grown up in a very privileged era of hairdressing where there's so much online stuff available. You can contact, like, one of the biggest questions we always get asked, and I talk about this so much, but how do you become an artist? How do you become an educator? How do you do this? How do you do that? And it's like literally reaching out to people or putting all your work, getting all your work visible in front of the eyes of the people that make the decisions. And it's not simple, but there is a method to sort of the way that you do it and how you can approach brands. But
I think it can be simple, but I think it's not easy.
Yeah, I suppose that's it. Yeah, it's simple to send an email with your work to somebody, but it's not easy to actually get in front of the people, because like with auditions, I was talking about this to somebody yesterday, and it was I talking about this in our live yesterday? I can't remember. I started off in like when I wanted to become an artist, I started off in a very small art team, which was just, I think it was like, oh no, I started to apply for them, and one was like for the NHF, and then I didn't get that. I applied for another one, didn't get that, and then I had an audition with Unite, and somehow I got that, even though my audition was dreadful.
Shall I tell you why you got it? Because fundamentally, people buy people.
Yeah.
So even though you might have had a dreadful audition, there was something about you that they liked.
Yeah.
I think you've got to realize that, you know, like, you have to remain authentic to who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wasn't on that first one.
Were you? On the NHF one?
No, not the NHF one. The NHF one was my first ever real sort of audition. And I did something which was completely different to what people would. I basically did balayage. And nobody was doing balayage back then. And they said, this was their feedback: I don't get why the roots are darker and the ends are blonder. No, that was it. I don't get. Oh, my camera's gone. I'll be back. I don't get why you've got. It was all seamlessly blended and everything, but I don't get why the colours, dark roots, blonde ends. And I was like, well, I've got to bring you something which is a bit innovative. So this is what I did. And there wasn't a word for it back then. It was just I called it colour graduation, is what I sold it as.
Yeah.
Basically, like word art. You know, Microsoft Word art. You could get your word at the beginning one colour, and it would transition to another colour.
Yeah,
that's where it came from. My concept. And then with the Unite one, this guy Fletcher, he does all of the dancing on ice. He went before me. And he was like Russell Brand, and I loved that whole era around then of like Russell Brand being really elaborate and explosive. So I was sitting there like this, like just as me, and I seen this guy Fletcher got up, and I said, right, I'm going to go and do that. Split second, I was like, right, I'm going to be Russell Brand, and I got up, performed dreadfully, and I still got it somehow. But then, I mean, they're all big learns. And then I was like Redken UK artist. And it's all been a stepping stone. So started with small with NHF, and then Unite, which just came over to the UK, which was another small art team. And then Redken was a bigger art team. And then obviously Lee Stafford, I'm one of his staffs. But then with Joico, European. So then the next stepping stone I want to get is global. And I just can't be Russell Brand.
I make a layer on top.
Cool.
I think I sent the part. Just in the middle, we watched simple. It's simple. And then I'm going to send the part. Then I'm going to pivot off that. Pivot nice. Longer. And I'm going to do it quite quickly because I know we've got about 17 minutes left, right?
How did you guess that?
Just know my times, brother. Seriously, that's a guess.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got 17 minutes. Well, we had 17 minutes exactly.
I'm just used to working with time for. If you've been working with time for 40 years, you get a good idea of time.
Yeah.
So like I'm putting the square line, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not over directing the front at all. I'm leaving and allowing the natural shape of the head, which is rounder here, to create the over direction for me.
Yep.
I want to be like Pixie. I'm not going to go like crazy short Pixie, but I'm going to go Pixie. So from here, got my section in, and then I'm going to go pivot from there out like a wedge, like a Trivial Pursuit wedge thing, piece of cheese, pizza, whatever you want to call it.
That's a nice question. Pivoting. Do people know what pivoting is? Like when it comes to the haircut?
Go say it again. Sorry.
Just saying about it's a nice question about pivoting.
Oh, somebody's asked, right?
No. To see if everyone. I know you were just saying it's like a Trivial Pursuit.
Oh yeah, okay. Trivial Pursuit. It's a Trivial Pursuit wedge. Let's go for the Trivial Pursuit question. What does pivoting mean?
Yeah. How are we working around the head?
How would you define it? How would you teach it?
Let's
What would
find
you
out.
say? How would you describe it? There's some good comments in the comment box. So I know we've got some really good stuff so far. So I'd encourage you to say more, because we really get a feel for where you are and how we can help further. There's no right. Sorry, I'm to the side, being very rude. No right, no wrong. But there's a wrong, obviously. But I want to make sure that you understand what it is I'm trying to do. Any comments?
Nothing yet.
Anybody give me any answers?
Another question: who pivots? Who uses pivot sections in the salon or at college?
Do you use them, Paul?
Yeah, oh, mate, all the time.
Yeah, especially with colour, right?
Yeah, but I use it more in haircutting.
Do you?
Yeah, I love pivoting. I love especially like hairline nape area, pivoting up through there and creating that bit of softness behind the ear.
Yeah, okay, got you. Yeah, because I think people still forget you cut hair every day.
Yeah.
You might be a colour specialist, but actually you're a really good hair cutter as well.
Yeah, I love cutting hair.
Yeah, I think you should do a haircut on this.
Yeah. And I think you should do a colour.
It'll be really basic.
So Anthony's just come and said, I pivot.
Cool.
What do you use pivoting for, Anthony? Where do you use it? Is it all through the haircut? Is it hairlines on top to maintain length?
Okay, there's a question. Why am I pivoting?
Yeah.
This is what the question. This was the question in my team training this morning. Why am I pivoting? Why am I pivoting and not use this? Why am I pivoting and not just using a static white weight line like everything comes up to? Why am I pivoting? What's the difference in result? Ooh, what do you think of that question?
It's a tasty question.
Tasty question. I thought so. I like that. So. Paul, do you know what's missing today?
What?
Really important ingredient to our lives.
What's that?
I can't believe you can't even think of it. And it isn't the sound effect from last night.
What, my mic?
Yeah, it's not that. Although I thought we'd have the mic on, but it's not the mic. So what is the missing ingredient today? I don't know. I might be wrong, but I think it's a missing ingredient today.
Don't know.
Got to be a mum.
Ah, my mum.
Mrs. Watts.
She just popped over to bring me some mac and cheese, mate.
Did she?
Yeah, homemade mac and cheese.
Oh, I'm jealous.
So Tony just jumped in. Vertical cutting.
Oh, I'd like to know more about that.
Yeah, let us know, Tony. What is that? Is that in reference to the answer, or is that a question, or is that something that you do? Do you use pivoting? What is it when you're cutting? What, elevating the hair vertically? Is that what you mean?
So look, I'm getting a fundamental shape now, right? Which is longer towards the front. I'm going to deal with that in a minute. The length in the front, and I want to thin it, and I want to kind of make it more lighter. So I haven't done any over direction. Like I said, I've just lifted straight up to keep the length in the front. So all the sections, tighten up, wash. That's pretty square to the head, okay? And it's just got longer to the front because the head is naturally rounder, and so those layers have got longer. And that's just giving me protection through the front. I'll cross-check it, just get any bits. Look, the cross-check's really nice.
So Tony said that was her answer to your question. So why are you pivoting? And it was because you're vertical cutting.
Right. Well, do you know what? In a way, she's right. I'll be honest. But what I'm trying to do is, if I was using a static baseline, I'd be creating more weight on the outside edges. So I can bring everything up, and the sides would get really heavy. And what I want to do is a natural and a more neutral distribution of layers of the same length all the way around. So I cut my length and then I pivot out on the same shape to keep the layer formation the same, but still keeping it slightly heavier where the head's rounder on the peripheral edges, which I can then blend softly. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm not creating as many, I'm creating more layers in the round area than I would in the normal technique. So same thing, I'm going into the back, I'm going to stay behind the head so you can see it properly. It's a vertical section down, and again, whoops, why is that doing that? Thank you.
Drunk?
Yeah, she's drunk. Oh, that's right. Get it. It's just got loose. So another vertical section in the middle. I reckon I've got 8 minutes left.
No,
yeah.
9.
9. I wasn't saying 9. I thought, no, I'm talking too long. I'm not bad. Up here, pick this up. Again, I'm going to cut this to the head shape. I'm not going to over-direct and cut square. This section, I'm going to bring this up here. I'm actually going to cut out to 90 and cut a rounder shape, okay? So I'm creating 2 shapes within one, really. And I want this because I want it to blend more over the disconnection. Otherwise, I'll have too much hair over disconnection. I'll have too much to try to connect in. I want it to look blended and soft and seamless. Look, that's almost soft and seamless. Oh, come on. So look, already where it's blending.
Yeah.
You see the blend there, but there's actually a disconnection.
Yeah.
Small one, right? So I don't need to connect it. Same thing now with that. I'm pivoting outwards from the point for the same reasons that I did pivoted the other one, but I'm not pivoting with over direction or a square line. I'm just pulling out to 90 and cutting a layer, but in a pivoted formation. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sure?
Yep.
So I'm being really quick now because I know that we've only got a few. So I want to show you the refining. That's what I want to get to. If I don't get to refining, what's the solution? I know we discussed one.
Yeah, so we're going to pop it on to, because we've got to finish on the hour. We're just going to do these. We're going to have these on an hour, just to keep things nice and streamlined and uniform. But yeah, we're going to, if we don't finish it, so if I do a colour and if I don't finish the technique, we're going to jump over onto, Patreon, and we'll be doing it over there. So we'll be creating a new link on the Patreon that goes on the notice board on there. You click it and then you come in and you watch the remainder of these videos. But with Patreon, what we're going to do, these are like our teasers to try and give you as much information as we can in an hour. But Patreon is going to be much more in depth, where we're going to have actual head sheets. We're going to have color formulations. We're going to have like custom color guides. We're also going to have the drying time, the refining, and more personalizing. So yeah.
And that's where we will be doing we'll probably be doing a live launch of our collection, probably in September time.
Yeah.
Which will be our autumn winter collection. And we'll be doing the live launch of that only on Patreon.
Yeah.
And that will be with formulations, that will be with head sheets, that will be with all the videos you need to do, which me and Paul are already kind of like talking about what we want to see. But that's changing weekly because trends, when we look at the trends and what's going to come. So we're really excited about it. I think we're probably going to do 3, maybe 4 looks, which will be salon friendly and absolutely something you can nail in the salon without too much complication. And you will be able to take them forward from day one. And eventually, if you're part of the Patreon group, we will be doing some lives in different educational environments. we'll be inviting you along, and you'll have a discounted rate to come to our lives when you get to meet, like a meet and greet thing, where we'll be teaching the looks, and you can come along and do it for live with us, but you get a much cheaper rate of attending than anybody else. That's the intention. So this is my kind of crop at the moment. I now need to go into this to shape and refine. So I'm going to use my razor. This isn't going to be the finished look because I'm going to run out of time, and this is what I normally spend my time, is using this to refine. So I'm going to just open up some spaces and show you how I'd use the razor. So
we've just got a couple of questions, mate, about Patreon. So let me just jump over here. So Melissa O'Sullivan has just asked, is Patreon another app? It is. No. It's another platform. So it's just something that so we can give as much time as possible to a condensed amount of people. So after this video, click on Hustl.Ed. I've literally just shared everything. So there's a membership to it, and you can pick which one you want to participate in. There's one which is the top one, which is mentorship, where we do Zoom calls with you, over the shoulder mentorship. So
there's only 10 of those spaces, okay?
Well, 9 now.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, that's what Patreon is. I keep looking at the wrong camera because I'm new to my laptop. You guys are here. So yeah, Patreon. If you after this video click on the Hustle group, you'll see that I've done it, and there's actually a link. If you're on YouTube, below this video, or if you're on Facebook, it will be in the description above it. You can click on www.patreon.com/hustled, and that takes you to our new platform. And then Anthony has just asked, on Patreon, it says it renews on the 1st of May. So if I get it now, will it take the money now and another amount on the 1st of May? To be honest, Anthony, I don't know. I wouldn't know if I'm honest.
Good question.
Good question.
So can I just show you something?
Yep. I'll find out for you, Anthony.
So look, when we use a razor, people get very erratic about it. I like to use it as a smoothing technique. So I lay the razor on the hair flat, and I soothe it and smooth it away, look.
Yeah.
Take away the top layer. Look, that's it.
That's like a bit like ASMR. Do you know ASMR?
Yeah. Do you know what? That's a great description of this technique. It's like an ASMR of cutting hair, really. It's that fineness, that softness, and I love that description, ASMR. Actually, I use the Calm app for sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
And they've got ASMR stories on that. Which they got this guy on there called the French Whisperer. And he's brilliant. And I love the stuff they do on that, on Calm. Just because sometimes your mind's working, you've had a hard day, you come to bed, you're still not ready to sleep. And I listened to some great stories on that, about Atlantis or about a train ride or something, and they're always really cool.
Yeah.
So look, I'm just taking this. You can see the weight I've taken away from the fringe now. Do you see how it's opened it all up?
Yeah.
And now it's all about reduction. So I'm looking, and what I'm doing is I'm working on diagonals always. If I work on a straight line with a razor, it'll leave marks, and you'll see a sharp, or you'll see where weight is. If I create a diagonal, when it then falls and blends, it falls and blends softer because the lengths are in different places. So I always work on that. And I do the same. I use the same technique when I'm ironing hair. I only ever iron hair with flat irons or with your GHDs or your Cloud9s, whatever you use. I only do that on a diagonal as well for the same purpose of not creating any marks in the hair. So I always work on diagonals. That's a top tip.
Love it. So we've got, like 45 seconds left. Yeah. But just to touch, all the everything you need to know is either if you're on Facebook above this video, everything about Hustl.Ed. If you're on YouTube, it's directly below it in the description, everything. Anthony, I will find out, mate, if it renews on the 1st of May, or if that's just your membership that renews. I'll find that out. Clubhouse, once this video has gone, is finished live, actually, we'll start another comment. So in the Hustle group for Clubhouse, I'll put a Clubhouse sort of header. If you want an invite, just pop your name under there and we'll try and invite as many of you as possible. I think I've got 5, Ian's got 12. So we'll, first 17 people.
Yeah, I think your friends on Facebook will invite you.
Yeah. So we'll do that.
Facebook.
But that is it. That is the hour. I hope you all loved it. I loved it. Mate, I love watching you hair. I love watching you cut hair.
Can I get some thumbs up or anything just to get some bit of feedback before I go? Because I'm very sensitive.
Yeah.
Does anybody
in the comments?
Is that helpful? Did they kind of like get the sort of shortness? I want to refine it, obviously, and make it more Pixie-like, but you got the gist, kind of where we are.
Yeah, it's cool.
I kind of like those textures, and kind of looks. I think it looks cool, actually.
Yeah, mate, it looks super cool. It looks like the thumbnail that was on this video. Yeah. I put 3 pixie cuts on there, and it's like a mix of all 3. So Anthony's just put thumbs up.
Cool.
Tony,
thank you.
As said, thanks again, guys. Take care. And yes, had a message for Clubhouse. So I'll put something in the Hustle bit now, and you can just comment below. Tony's give you hearts and thumbs up, as well as Anthony. But yeah, if you've enjoyed it, guys, let us know in the comments, and we will bring you. We're going to do this once a month, so one Tuesday a month we'll be doing this. But let me just get that comment out of the way, and then
listen, that's only just playing with hair, manipulating. You can see how the likenesses look. Like, I can use my fingers, and it just lets me manipulate the shape I want. And there's no product on this whatsoever. Nothing, zero, just water, and that nothing. I just love playing with that type of shape. Oh God, that's so gorgeous.
That's cool.
Thanks, Paul. Again, thanks Anthony, Lisa, all the guys who comment, Tony. Really appreciate you guys joining us. I hope you like that shape. It's really cheap. I haven't finished it yet, obviously, but it's something you could use in the salon. It's so simple, and it's effective, and people love it. It just looks so cool.
Yeah, so what we're going to do now is we're going to jump off here, and then we're just going to continue filming for another probably half an hour. We'll have the link and we'll put it over in Patreon. So if you want to see the blow dry, the styling, the refining, it's all going to be over there. And look forward to seeing you again. But yeah, once a month on here in the Hustle group, we're going to do a live. But if you become a Patreon to Hustled Club, there's going to be Q&As, there's going to be lives a lot more frequently. There's going to be business advice, social media advice.
Yeah, how to build your column, how to have repeat customers, how to do sales, how to make more money, how to get more money in your pocket, how to earn more, how to bigger repeat clients, keep them coming back, how you get your clients to work hard for you so they help you build your clientele. So there's lots and lots of hints and tips to get you getting to be as good as you possibly can and earn as much money as you possibly can, because that's what we want, charging the big dollars, right? That is it.
Cool. Right. Thank you, mate. It's great. Loved it. And thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure to spend the afternoon with you.
Cheers.